Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip. Jeff is off again tonight. He will be back on Saturday morning, but I want to just talk about so much good news going on with Ripple XRP. First off, we've got an article penned by none other than Ripple's very own Matt Hamilton. There was a brand new Ripple drop that came today loaded with all kinds of great news and some expansion into Latin America. And regardless of what's going on with the SEC, Ripple is building an empire, a massive empire that they've been putting together for the last 8 years. Listen, always innovation will drive on, and you got to ignore all of the noise. You filter the noise and don't worry about that. There's a conclusion in that OpenSea investigation that we talked a little bit about yesterday. Solana. Still some stuff going on with the Solana over there, which we'll jump in a little bit into as well. But I just want to focus really on some positive stuff tonight, some of the amazing positive news that are happening. And so let's get this kicked off. Let's get this kick started, and let's do this now. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Whoa. So if you guys are coming in from, I want to see where you're coming in from tonight. Go ahead and drop your country, drop your city. Again, Jeff and I always love reviewing where you guys are coming in from. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention Songbird unofficially sort of launched today. It's not 100% operational. We'll jump into that a little bit, but a lot of the Songbird tokens have been distributed. You're probably like, well, where did that happen? Well, we'll jump into that too. But again, it's just packed tonight. We got so much to try to get through. And there's just way too much on the docket for tonight to try to get through it all, but we'll do our best here. And I wanted to sort of start off here with just a Ripple tweet here from one of the employees over here at Ripple, Cindy Young, to get started here tonight. And we'll jump right into it. Let's look at this. Excited to continue Ripple's momentum EMEA with the customers and connections, and Paydeck brings real-time payments to freelance and on-demand workers in the Latin American region and Africa. Okay, so this is one of the big pieces of news we got kicking off tonight, and this was penned by Ripple, put out today. This is Paydeck expands footprint to Latin America and Africa through none other than what else? RippleNet, of course. And on-demand work creates a brand new financial opportunity. It benefits both individuals and local economies. And in just 2 short years, the industry is expected to become a $455 billion market as freelancers and independent contractors reap the benefits of flexible schedule and remote work. And this is largely what we've come. You know, even my company, we have an office still, but nobody rarely goes in there. We've all become sort of remote workers when the pandemic hit. And a year and a half later, yeah, a lot of people are still working remote, but that remote work continues to grow. But getting paid in a timely manner, it's still a challenge for these freelance workers. You still have all these like bad legacy payment systems. They're not really meeting the demands of the modern on-demand world. And sometimes workers, get paid for several days, but it could be a long time. And this is one of the things in this on-demand sort of world. So UK-based payment system Paydeck turned to Ripple to help solve the problems faced by their customers, who are basically, let's say, web designers, independent contractors, payroll companies, to deliver these reliable real-time cross-border payments into new markets through RippleNet. And Paydeck initially leveraged RippleNet to connect into Africa, a quickly growing hub for on-demand work, since it's expanded into Latin America into a partnership with local payment. And at Paydeck, our goal was to deliver the most efficient and most cost-effective payment products and methods to our customers. Our two new connections with Ripple in Africa and Latin America marks another milestone in building additional local payment rails and the payment technology infrastructure for our clients and for our partners. And this is one of the things that we talk a little bit about when it comes to the SEC, where they just really don't understand what it takes to lay down payment rails, right? You're building software, you're building into these new countries, and you're laying the groundwork. It just doesn't happen by snapping your finger. There's some hard work that goes into it, and then you've got to be able to facilitate the payment on both sides of the transaction. And this is where Ripple really shines. And this is where, you know, the 4 to 5 seconds we always hear about is coming into play here. But this is where the SEC also has dropped the ball and not understanding this whatsoever and missing this altogether. So I want to jump back in here. It says expanding RippleNet to better serve PayDex customers. It's a testament to the power of the blockchain technology to significantly transform these global payments, said Cindy Young. She's the managing director of RippleNet Europe. Through PayDex, Ripple is strengthening its presence in Africa, Latin America to drive innovation and digital remittances in regions where faster payments are crucial to people's livelihoods. And again, here we are, you know, payment rails. We got payment rails into Africa, payment rails into Latin America. But this kind of what this is doing, what we talk about the innovation and the innovation that's been driven, you know, out of the San Francisco office. Of course, Ripple's a global company. Let's make no mistake. But when we talk about innovation, we talk about what drives a company like Ripple. It really does come down to the actual manpower, the woman power, the thinking power, right? To be able to imagine products that can solve problems, real problems. You know, you don't have gig workers who aren't going to get paid for 4, 5, 6, 10 days. They're going to get paid right away. And that's where this is solving it. And that's why Ripple's out there solving big problems. Yeah, of course, they're dealing with the institutions, right? Dealing with the banks, dealing with by eliminating the Nostra Vostra accounts. But here are other scenarios. And this really plays into their strengths of other use cases that benefit a group or a large swath of people. And PayDex provides a variety of cost-effective payment options so the customers can choose what works best for them. Either it's a prepaid debit card, could be a prepaid card, dedicated IBAN accounts, bank accounts, OCT transfers, wire transfers. As adoption of digital technology continues to soar in emerging markets and becomes preferred option to support payments, those champion speed, security, and choice in payments will be the providers of choice for on-demand workers, and for obvious reasons, right? I mean, do you want to go the slow and drippy method, or do you want to go the fast, secure, get paid instantly? PayDex supports 9 local currencies in Africa. I'm not going to read them all off, but there are the currencies right there because I don't know the currencies by their acronyms. And in partnership with local payment in Latin America, it'll support these currencies as well. And RippleNet leverages the blockchain technology to help partners across the global network accelerate the business performance at scale, delivers a superior end-to-end performance experience, simplified network partnering. And here's a real key one right here, liquidity management solutions and lines of credit, which we've talked often about here, state-of-the-art infrastructure, real-time payments right there. There's the magic right there. And again, so I just love the news coming out today. Just phenomenal news coming out. And regardless of what everybody else is talking about, yeah, the SEC this, the SEC that, they're getting a pretty good job of getting their ass handed to them by the press. Charles Gasparino, who's pretty new on the scene from Fox Business Network, has been just asking all the right questions. Saw a couple other threads out there as well that people had pointed out to Jeff and I as well. But let's jump in because there's just more stuff to really cover here, and I want to jump in head first into the shallow end for maximum impact, as I like to say. So this was there was a Ripple drop put out today, and again, we're not going to sit there and listen to it, but I want to spend a little bit of time covering some of the content of this. And again, what I like that they also put it into a blog post that makes it a little bit easy to consume. And I think we should probably check in with Stuart Alderati, which I do like his update on the video. So we might just listen to that a little bit of it. But Sheesh Burla, the general manager of RippleNet, gave an update on global growth of RippleNet over the past year. So check out these numbers. In 2020 alone, there were over 3 million transactions which crossed the network, with Southeast Asia, of course, leading the charge. He says that 2021 already off to a roaring start, particularly across the Middle East and Latin America. And we just went into the story with Paydeck on Latin America. But again, look at how this whole world, look how the global world is coming together. Look at all these rails that are opening up, and look at all of this attention. And Ashish attributes much of the explosive growth to the acceleration of digital transformation due to the pandemic. Over the past year, RippleNet's on-demand liquidity product service had helped develop many customers navigate the COVID cash crunch while enabling others to grow and transform their businesses. And again, this is what a real solution looks like when you have a product like on-demand liquidity. And this is where I say, Ripple is really unmatched in this arena when it comes to the on-demand liquidity product. There really isn't any competition. Yeah, there's, Stellar has, there's XLM and Stellar, and they're doing their thing. But the true innovation, and the reason you have a company like Ripple that's building software that's solving problems, and they have done a stupendous job. So based on customer demand, she says sees tremendous opportunity ahead for Ripple to offer credit lines, enable chief financial officers and treasury teams to move money instantly around the world, 365 days, 24/7 through the on-demand liquidity. The digital acceleration caused by COVID, it's only going to continue in a post-COVID world, and RippleNet's going to be the technology to help you expand further. Now, empowering developers to build the Internet of Value. So then also in the Ripple drop, they had Monica Long, and she's the general manager of RippleX. She basically got kind of pumped and excited about why the team's progress is inspiring, enable the community of XRP developers to build this Internet of Value. And we've often heard, Brad Garlinghouse talk very fondly of the Internet of Value, the Internet of Value, the Internet of Value. Well, what is the Internet of Value? Well, it's developers that are building on top of the XRPL. And this is one of the things that Monica is talking about. She says the focus for the 2021 is on contributing with the broader XRPL developer community to a fantastic building experience for developers, and supporting developers with these new programs, demonstrating real world use cases for the XRPL. This again, the SEC has it wrong. There's so many use cases for not only XRP, but product wise as well, and on the XRPL, and introducing key infrastructure elements that promote liquidity and help developers really bring it to life. That's really what RippleX is all about. You guys remember it used to be called Spring, and which transformed into RippleX. She also highlights a number of exciting new community projects using the ledger, including the non-custodial wallet, an XRP toolkit, and an NFT art gallery. And I think the NFTs are going to become probably even more exciting as we start pressing through. And I want to go ahead and throw this up for XRP Supercar. Thank you, XRP Supercar. Appreciate that support. Not regarding XRP, which I'm all about, but the SHIB at Coinbase. Come on, they're way too scared of XRP being the king of the space. God bless them. Scared I would be if XRP is facing you. And yeah, if you guys don't know, I saw that release came out today. Coinbase put out a tweet where they released SHIB out there, and they put a kind of cutesy tweet. If I can find it, I'll look for it. But it was a cutesy tweet, like, keep the collar on, and it was a fun little sort of a tweet. But XRP Supercar, great point you're making here. Why are they restrained with delisting the whole XRP, and they're going all in on SHIB, right? So it's a really good point you're making here. But again, I saw that Coinbase launched a couple of coins today that kind of took me by surprise, right? So, but yeah, the one coin, the king of all, what should it be? XRP, right? It should be out there. And yeah, I can't agree with you more on that one. NFTs are obviously a big deal in crypto, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for developers to sink their teeth in NFT use cases on XRPL. And as you know, Jeff and I are developing an XRP, I should say an NFT series that we're working on. We're really excited to talk about it. It's kind of low key right now, but we've teamed up with somebody who is a world-class illustrator and somebody very well known, and we are putting together an NFT project that Jeff and I have talked about and engineered, and it's been something we've we wanted to do for some time. So that's on the docket. It's just a matter of where we're going to release it. And we have been shoring it up, and wish we could show you a little bit about what we're working on, but we did see some other new details today, and we're super excited about it. This NFT thing is for real. It's not going anywhere. And I love the way it's being used, not only for artwork, but I'm starting to see it emerge as a real amazing technology for art as well. And then let's go here. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just take us out of here for a second, because I want to jump in here with us. Stuart Alderati. He's the chief legal counsel for Ripple, and I prefer almost let's listen in on this, because I think this is a little bit better shared with his own voice here. And let me go ahead. I got to go ahead and make sure that I share this properly so that you guys can hear the audio. You guys should hear the audio on this. If you don't, for some reason, go ahead and blow up the chat and let me know, because again, Jeff's not here to let me know that we can't hear it. Like, so here we go. Yeah, NFT gaming, right there. NFT gaming with Gala. Yeah, good one, Mr. K. Good to see you, brother. But there's some other stuff coming too, and I'm just telling you, man, it is getting so damn exciting right now. There's so much great stuff on the horizon. We got Songbird launching. We are in for a treat. This back nine of, what do you want to call it, the golf course here. But as we head into 2022. So much good stuff happening, and I am stoked. So let me go ahead and put this on here. But this is let's listen a little bit in here. You guys, if you don't hear it, let me know. Let me make sure this is pumped up at the volume here. Let's go. Let's listen in.
Can you give us an update on crypto regulation, and where do you see it headed?
So we've talked about an environment of regulatory uncertainty, and that environment of regulatory uncertainty continues. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission in the U.S., continues to try to regulate the space through enforcement rather than adopting clear laws, rules, or regulations that could be published, that the industry can comment on, that everyone can agree that these will be the rules of the road going forward. And the last enforcement action that the SEC filed, as I think everyone knows, was against Ripple. And that was filed at the very end of December. It was filed by the former administration at the SEC, literally on the last day of that chair being in office, claiming that what Ripple was doing was on the wrong side of the securities laws. Ultimately, whether the SEC is right or whether Ripple's right, of course we believe we're right, that's going to have to be resolved in a court at some future date. That's what we call regulation by enforcement, rather than adopting.
And Stuart's right here. He's talking about regulation by enforcement. That's exactly what it is. You know, you're going to go ahead and regulate something when you don't give any sort of clear definition on it. But you know, the best way to find out is to get your hand slapped and then go after a regulation through enforcement. And again, what's the enforcement? If the lines are clear and there is indeed clarity, then you certainly don't have that. Let's listen in a little bit more here, but I like what he says here.
Laws, rules, and regulations, so everybody knows what the rules of the game will be, or the rules of the industry will be.
I mean, that really begs another question. So, like, why is this regulatory clarity through a framework important?
Without a clear regulatory framework, or stated another way, with an unclear regulatory framework that creates that havoc, you're simply not going to be able to develop the innovation in that environment.
Stu, well, who specifically benefits from regulatory clarity?
I think, number one, the United States benefits from regulatory clarity.
Last but not least, what jurisdictions have clear regulatory regimes, and how can the U.S. learn from them?
We've talked about this before. I think there are many countries that are developing or have developed clear regulatory regimes. There's Japan, there's Singapore, there's the UK, there's Switzerland.
Yeah, basically, Stu, let me help you out here. Basically everywhere but the United States. Okay, like if you just want to sum it up in a nice little easy sort of package right there, it really comes down to that. It's almost that easy that we the U.S. is the only one really lacking. And again, I've often stated that I really like the UK's approach to where it's a multi-pronged approach. Could be a currency, could have a use case, could a utility to it, but it also could have a potentially some sort of a security aspect of it. But it doesn't have to. And this is it. It doesn't have to be this. And what we're seeing out of the SEC is it's just nope. It's an investment contract. There's a promise based on the action of others that there's going to be some sort of value derived from that, and it's this one-sided, all in your face Howey test. Let's make it fit the Howey test, from the 1940s. I mean, it's absolutely started to get almost pathetic and almost ridiculous here. Looking in the chat right here. Let's see this. So Devon Steve says, hey, why did Gensler at the start of the hearing sit there and quote, it's my own opinion, not the SEC's garbage. He wasn't there as a private citizen, but as a chair of the SEC. I don't recall that bit on the open, but no, he was there as a chair, representing a chair. All of what he stated was under oath and was as the SEC chair. So that part of it itself, I don't know what opinions he gave, or I don't that part of it itself, I don't recall. But one person I can tell you guys about who's on the ball is the former OCC head. He had a short stint at Binance where it only lasted maybe 4 or 5 months. And a lot of that had to do with what he calls, and this is none other than Brian Brooks, but Brian Brooks says that he had some disagreement, and he's later come out and stated that it was a disagreement with the, obviously with CZ, out of, who's basically the founder. So he had some directions that they wanted to go in, and he felt like it was good. But again, he says you're not going to come if you're coming up against the founder is going to get their way. They're going to, if it's their way or the highway, and it's their direction. So, and I also suspect there were probably some other things involved, speculation, but maybe on the regulatory front, just something that I'm just sort of surmising and guessing. I mean, it's hard to know 100%. But I want to jump into this because Brian Brooks makes a phenomenal statement here. Not everything in crypto needs to be regulated. Let me say that again. Not everything in crypto needs to be regulated. So spot on. The former Binance US CEO and acting comptroller of the currency has seen regulations from both sides. Sure, because he was in there at the acting controller of the currency, and went ahead and actually put some stuff through, like banks can custody crypto. That was all Brian Brooks. And then you see other people trying to like lay that back and roll it back, and there he is. There is that smiling face right there. And so he spoke at the SALT conference. He said crypto regulation is an inflection point in the U.S. Companies complain about the lack of clear guidelines. Leading exchange Coinbase last week fumed about a fight it's having with the Securities and Exchange Commission over a lending product it wants to launch. And in the background, Ripple Labs defending itself against the $1.3 billion SEC lawsuit over XRP token offering. Just absolutely pathetic. And then major financial regulators are meeting behind closed doors to decide how to deal with stablecoins. And that's another one that's got me just through the roof, man. I am just furious and livid that the Marxist Fed once again is going to try to come down on stablecoins, and the way that they're approaching it and the way they're looking at it. And what it's exposing is the holes, not only in the United States, but across the world, and all of these banks and all these, especially these central banks, showing them that a system built upon debt, where you borrow 1 unit of something that's a fiat currency, you now owe that, plus you owe another one. You have to borrow another one. And this is a broken system. It's been broken for hundreds of years, yet the central banks continue to thrive and they continue to go. And that is where cryptocurrency is laying down the law. And that's where I find it, that's where it's dividing it and opening it up, freedom to people. So he goes into Brian Brooks, former regulator himself, former Coinbase general counsel, suggests we're approaching it all wrong. Like we're asking the kids selling lemonade to neighbors to get a health permit. Now, you guys will laugh about this, but There's a town here in the U.S. where that's exactly what did happen. They forced these kids who were selling like lemonade, in front of their house. You sell it 25 cents. You sell a little glass of lemonade, and the kids down my street, they're always out there selling lemonade. And one day I was super thirsty. I wanted to stop by and get some lemonade. And they're like, "Oh, we just ran out." I was like, "What?" I stopped my car and everything. And the kids ran out. But there was another scenario where it was in some town in the US where they made the kids want to get like a health permit. So this is ridiculous. So he gets into it. He says, it's like asking a kid selling lemonade to the neighbors to get a health permit. It's a weird question. It's like, hey, you're doing something. Show me what regulation you're complying with. And just it's a good little story to illustrate the absurdity of it all. He says during a panel on the institutional adoption of digital assets at the SALT conference, this is a biannual event that covers global finance and tech, the former Binance US CEO and acting controller, he referenced his own experience. I don't start with the regulation. I start with, what is the activity that we're doing here? What are the aspects of it ought to be regulated? And I think those are two fair questions, right? What are we doing here? And what aspects really need to be regulated? And why would they be regulated? He told the audience. And I don't start with the assumption that everything that's happening in crypto land ought to be the subject to banking or securities regulation. And I'll take that a step further, only because if you look at a digital asset, it's not a security, right? So in my mind, I don't see that the SEC has any jurisdiction whatsoever. Now, yes, there are ways that you can package digital assets. There are products that you can make with digital assets. I mean, you could even assume that a Bitcoin mining pool could potentially be a security offering, right? If you just suspend that thought for 1 second, what you can agree on is the fact that a digital asset that's completely decentralized has nothing to do with a security. Doesn't look like a security, doesn't smell like a security. And again, you can't pigeonhole it and put it all into one basket when it's absolutely not a security. Now, let's jump in. He says, I don't start with the assumption that everything is happening in crypto land has to be banking or security regulations. To Brooks, regulations are about dealing with issues raised by people. But cryptocurrency and blockchain tech are about code. That, of course, is half true. There are people developing the code that goes into crypto products, just like there are people behind negligent policies that encourage Bank of America employees to sign up for accounts and services they didn't ask for. So if you don't know anything about this, this was it really wasn't Bank of America, was actually Wells Fargo, where Wells Fargo was absolutely 100% forging bank accounts, having people sign up for bank accounts, are you ready to jump in?
I am ready.
Boom, Jeff is here, guys. What's up? Good to see you, man.
What's happening? Good to be here.
Glad you could join us. We were covering this Brian Brooks article where Brooks talks about everything in crypto does not need to be regulated. He goes on to talk about the fact that, he brings up the example about the kids selling lemonade. They don't need a health permit to sell lemonade, right?
Yeah,
So
you need a health permit. Don't sell your lemonade.
Yeah, what's up with this lemonade stuff? So he's like, he kind of gets it wrong here. He says, encourage Bank of America employees to sign people up for accounts they didn't ask for. That was actually a Wells Fargo thing. Well publicized. Brooks, a crypto progressive, it took heat for expanding opportunities for digital asset firms, while the OCC made the larger point that the disintermediation can remove all negligence and the fraud and the self-dealing out of the equation. What's left to be regulated? The rules for compensating losses and instituting cybersecurity standards. So, I mean, it's a good article. It goes in here. Yeah, it
goes into a lot of stuff. I like the component of the fact that Brooks comes straight out, points a few fingers at what's going on right now, says you guys have got it all wrong. There's no need for over-regulation of this space. And, it's I think it's important. Here's the comptroller of the currency. And, then he moved on, obviously. And I see big things for him in this space.
Yeah, I think he's a superstar. And, he's He's absolutely right. It's kind of sad that his tenure was like it's pretty short, but at least he got through the fact that the banks could custody crypto. I mean, that was like one thing. And then Jeff, didn't we hear from this new administration that they wanted to roll back everything he did?
Everything.
It's insane, right? It's like, well, what the hell are they they're gonna roll back, this some of the great stuff that was actually done, which is mind blowing.
That's it. It's Sophie says, I'm tired of not shaving till XRP moons. That's right.
Yeah, Jeff's
not gonna happen.
No sleep till Brooklyn, right, Jeff? That's what it says. No sleep till Brooklyn. So yeah, you do whatever it takes, man. You do. But I was just saying, the way we started off today, Jeff, is there's so much good news. Ripple's building an empire. They got rails going into to Africa, rails going now into Latin America, region, and on top of all the cool stuff that came out today, we had the Ripple drop, which we kind of jumped into a little bit, talked about, all the stuff moving across RippleNet that Ashish Burla shared with us. But then out of nowhere, check this out. Look at this. I love this. We don't have to get into a lot of this, but I wanted to jump in. But so Matt Hamilton out of RippleX put this together, and this is something you guys can share with people. Fact and fiction, debunking the XRP ledger misconceptions. It's good stuff to know. Like, for example, myth, the XRP ledger centralized. Well, based on my experience as a developer and my conversation with fellow devs, this is perhaps the most rampant falsehood. Here's why. In a centralized blockchain, a single authority governs the entire network, controls validations, controls updates to the ledger, creates a single point of failure, where theoretically leaves the entire network vulnerable to attack. And the truth is, the XRP ledger is decentralized. And Jeff, if you do you think this is a concept that the SEC completely 100% understands?
Do I think that the current administration and the current people over at the SEC have some semblance of understanding about what's happening in the decentralized cryptocurrency space? I have a feeling that the majority of them do not. But it's rampant, across all areas of government where they just don't get it, right? So, now they're trying to, clamp down on it. That's why I think it was so critical for Brian Brooks to come out with what he was saying. I think Garlinghouse, has come out and said, hey, where's the clarity? Why is Gensler running around talking about clarity? Gensler is definitely off base here, and we're going to find out that there's some sketchy things going on at the SEC, just like Armstrong was talking about, just like Garlinghouse is talking about. There's definitely something wrong, and why are they going after stable coins? Why are they though? And it's not so much that that they're looking for the true path to make sure they're protecting retail investors. It unfortunately seems like they're clamping down for control reasons, right? So we've had, 4 years under the previous administration, really not much happen. Now all of a sudden, Gensler from MIT, comes in swinging, right? And he's just out there. He just wants to slash and burn everything. And now Janet Yellen, coming out with her nonsense. It's just one after another. What's their end game? What is their objective? Do they want to set the U.S., back to the Stone Age?
They do.
As far as the digital asset space is concerned.
Yeah, I think they just want to crush innovation. I mean, look, the problem is that the old guard is very nervous right now, and I talked about central banks a little bit earlier in the broadcast, where it's a system built on debt, right? And they want to protect this system because, especially this system allows them to print stuff, right? Like, for example, in the U.S., we're coming up on what we call the debt ceiling, which means that the government will run out of money sometime in October. They do one of two things: they pass a resolution that allows them to spend even more and more money. Whose money? This is the people of the U.S. And when we do these types of conversations, it's really easy to shut it down. No, we're not going to increase it. Done. There's no new spending. There's no new bills. There's no new nothing. You have to live within your means, because that's how human beings have to. Around the world, you got governments that are out of control. and they're telling their citizenry one thing, Jeff, saying, with the finger pointing at you, and they want you in your meeting, want you to manage your finances, but they don't manage their own finances. They don't even manage themselves. Okay, and with their oppressive sort of mandates in nature. And what's the one thing, Jeff, that's bringing us all together? Cryptocurrency, right? Cryptocurrency. There was actually a really good. I saw Judy Shelton today had retweeted a really solid post, which Jeff, you don't hear me say this very often, but it was an opinion piece in the New York Times that addressed that cryptocurrency is freedom for the people. It was a very poignant article. Really too long to get into here, but the basic thrust of it is that there was something that was available to everybody worldwide, which brought freedom and brought freshness to it, and it against pretty much the old guard, which central banks and these sort of bad actors.
Yeah, Chip, they all get it wrong. They're all purposely getting it wrong. You think about, I was telling my wife yesterday, we were talking about Elizabeth Warren and, some of the things that she was, how is kind of a softball question over to Gensler. And it's interesting because Elizabeth Warren was part of Sarbanes-Oxley, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the disaster that was. And so then she reminds me that not only was she part of that, the drafting of that, but then she also was working with lobbyist organizations in order to defeat Sarbanes-Oxley. So she's been on all sides of everything. A little bit disingenuous, So now the way they come out and they talk about the crypto space, it just doesn't resonate with anybody anymore, and I think, trust in government on a global scale, not just here, but is probably at its lowest level that it's been ever, and at least here in this country, Australia, UK, over in Europe, you're still allowed to speak out. There's some countries that you can't come out, right? But yeah, even that. So there's a lot of issues going on right now, but people are rising up in mass because you can only be oppressed for so long, and when you have freedom loving people in all these countries, finally they're going to say, hey, you know what? We've had enough. You want to try to silence us on social media. Social media is not so important to me. You want to, do all this other stuff. You want to start taking away our money. You want to take away our means of earning. All of a sudden now it's hitting home at a level that is impacting everybody. And you hit one thing that's critical is that crypto digital asset has brought opportunity to people all over the world. And that's the one thing that Elizabeth Warren was mocking. It's the one thing that Janet Yellen will mock is that, they don't believe that digital assets and cryptocurrency have offered something of value to people, right? To anybody and everyone that can generate value. And let me just pull one thing up and let go to the article you have there. But I think this is really vital because if you look at what's going on, like right now over in Hungary, right? Let me pull the.
My natives, my people do come from Hungary, Jeff. So yeah,
you've got some heritage
on my
over
father's
there.
side. Yeah, heritage.
You've got heritage over there. So check this out. So this is a statue dedicated to Satoshi Nakamoto over in Hungary, right? Hungary just debuted its statue in honor of Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, how cool is that, right? Look at this. Yeah, they got a whole, bust statue. It's really, really cool. Right. So now you tell me that here's some people over in Hungary, and you tell me that they didn't benefit somehow from this small thing called Bitcoin that rolled out in 2009, 2010, that it didn't have an impact on people over there, or it didn't have impact on people down in El Salvador or everywhere else. I mean, just everywhere, right? I mean, this statue proves all of them wrong. All those naysayers that are sitting up there on their pedestals, in their ivory castle, over in Washington D.C. and in throughout the world, wherever it might be.
Prague,
Prague, whatever. They just, man, come on. It's to a point now where the people are going to speak, and they're speaking. So.
Yeah, we're like, sit down, take a chair in the corner, sit down, face the corner, watch that paint dry, because that was like the benefit of my childhood there. So
look at Kyron's throat. Statue looks nothing like David Schwartz.
It's a young Schwartz, if you will. That's nothing like it at all. But Jeff, I want to jump into this because Songbird is in flight, meaning that so today Flare tweeted a little bird out there today. And the Songbird is out there. Songbird has now launched. The SBG token has been distributed to all addresses. So this is something you guys are going to have to check. Now, I did see a couple people out there address this at Uphold saying, hey, Uphold, are we getting Songbird tokens or what? And they're like, well, as soon as the response was, well, as soon as we know, we'll let you know. They were distributed today. So apparently they're
SGB was distributed today.
Yeah.
And what platform what was it distributed on?
Well, it says all the tokens have been distributed to all addresses. So if you registered so if you were, and again, I don't know how they distributed to the, the exchanges, but for example, if you had on a cold storage like Cent or a Ledger, you should have received your Songbird tokens. Now, a couple things about this. First of all, it's in observation mode right now. And determining observation mode right now is right now these the FTSO contracts will be deployed during the observation mode. The system will commence. Observation mode is intended to allow exchanges, FTSO data providers, and developers that deploy on the network in a safe manner. So during this period, the network could be rolled back, deployed from the Genesis. The Genesis is the original block, started out to the beginning, and they were right to do, which is fine because again, they're letting the network go. If there's any issues, they're going to have the opportunity to roll it back. Flare reserves the right to roll back or take down the network from the start to the Genesis. Exchanges, now they're saying we strongly advise to not make the Songbird token available for sale or purchase during this for obvious reasons. If something on the, they've got to roll it back. It's going to move things. So
your audio is cutting out a lot now.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. It could be that it looks like I'm having some network issues, which is great, but what are you gonna do?
Sophie's giving you
well.
At least
Yeah.
it's I can hear you. It's pretty clear. It's not like this.
Yeah, I don't know. I do see that I'm getting a little bit more cut out, but and then so there's a connect testing mode. Once Songbird progresses past this observation mode, Flare will be able to unilaterally roll back or restart the network. So once it's off and running, it's off and running.
Yeah.
During the period, they may not deploy the F-asset contracts to start testing. It's just like anything. Like they reserve the right to do almost anything. But the good news is that it is launching.
That's a good sign. Tony's saying you'll not see your SGB tokens in your wallets until there's a public RPC endpoint for your wallet to connect to. Guides will be released on how to connect your wallet to an RPC in the coming day. So I'm wondering, like say like Celsius, for instance. Celsius, when when they decided that they were going to release the original token, that as long as you had your snapshot and you were holding on Celsius, you're still receiving the tokens. So I'm wondering if the same is going to hold true for SGB. I wonder if it's going to go to Celsius or all different platforms for, like you said, with Uphold. So let's say on Uphold or Coinbase or otherwise. I don't know. I'm wondering where Flare is going to go or SGB is going to go. If it's going to follow in the same path as Flare, it would make sense that it would follow in the exact same path.
Like it, but I think until they get it to a point of where it really makes a lot of sense. But the good news is it's moving forward, right? We were like, when's it going to happen? Well, it started, right? So give it a little bit of chance here.
There you go. And hey, Nuke Goldstein from Celsius said in an MMA that he is in contact with Flair about Songbird. So there
That's
you go.
awesome.
So
Yeah,
that's
Nuke
good.
is great. We actually just got a chance to meet Nuke Goldstein at the Bitcoin 2020. Cool dude. Really, also with Alex Mashinsky down there. So that was actually really cool
Yep.
to meet those
Hey,
guys.
did you cover JV gave us sent over that tweet?
No, I didn't. Go ahead. You want to jump into that?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up because I think it's got some good content to it. And it kind of when you start getting in, this goes back, and this is where you start seeing, the people all over the place are finally speaking out. People overall have had enough of enough, just enough is enough. So I like how he
Right up
starts
there.
off, right, Chip? I like how he starts us off. At this point, I'm convinced that the SEC's current regulatory stance on crypto is more someone's personal political agenda, right? So I like how, right, singling it out immediately. Now you get into this part, and it's definitely kind of a slam against some of those people that are speaking out. So highly technical, educated people informed on this space cannot reach the conclusion that DeFi platforms can simply come in and register. So this is like immediately starts off like tweet number one. Gary Gensler is a highly technical and educated person, and he's supposedly informed on this space. But according to this tweet, Adam, I like this. He said, "There's no way that someone that's highly technical and educated and informed can reach this conclusion that DeFi, on DeFi platforms, and that they can just simply come in and register." And that's one of the things that Gensler's talking about, right? He's like, hey, come on in. Everybody should just come in and talk to us. And that's why Brian Brooks came out also and said, enough's enough. And let's look at who this Adam. So Adam he's a partner at whatever that is, Ventures. He's an adjunct professor for Biz.
We've read his tweets here before. He's a very he's a very thought-provoking guy.
Exactly.
He really is.
Professional analyst. He does a lot. So look at his followers, 66,000 followers. So it's not just, anybody, putting these comments together as well. But I like just, we covered already, some of the things that Brian Brooks was talking about. We've gone through the 20 tweet storm of Brian Armstrong, but Adam is saying, first take Brian Armstrong's post about the SEC blocking Coinbase aggressively, something that entirely doesn't align with a department that should be acting in good faith to support innovation while protecting consumers. Thoughts on that, right?
It's absolutely spot on, man.
So look, then he goes in over here. We factor in Gensler's history at MIT, where he spent so much time looking into crypto and decentralized systems, yet the statements he makes in hearings don't align with his knowledge. So Adam's saying, everybody watched his videos. Everyone talked about his time at MIT, but now he comes into the SEC position. And it's contrary. The two aren't aligning in any way, shape, or form, which goes back to number one, which is someone's personal political agenda. Is there a personal political agenda that's at play? Is it Gensler's? Is it somebody else's? Then you go into, so the next one, he even seemed to suggest both the securities laws are clear and simple for the crypto market, while also saying Congress needs additional laws to clarify them. Now, Chip Garlinghouse came out and attacked that exact thing, right? Garlinghouse was saying to Gensler, either everything is clear or it's not. If it's clear, then why does Congress need to clarify it?
Oh, that's exactly right. And if they need to clarify it, then where is the enforcement action coming from? Right?
Exactly.
It's insane.
Dude, yeah. So then he goes into Hester Pierce, right? These are things that we've all covered. We've gone into this in depth. So it's almost like Adam was watching our video while he's breaking this all down. But meanwhile, Hester Pierce has engaged extensively with the industry and made great proposals like Safe Harbor, which seem to have not moved forward. So she's a chair, she's a commissioner of the SEC, one of four. And then you've got Gensler there. And what she's been saying with the safe harbor, and now safe harbor 2.0 is there. She's been talking about safe harbor since 2019, as you and I both know, because we covered it. And nothing. It's like you could hear a pin drop. She says safe harbor, crickets.
Yeah, crickets. Well, Jeff, she had to introduce it twice, right? So she introduced it in February of 2020, and then she rolled it out again in April of 2021. And it's just like, it's a beautiful proposal, gives beautiful clarity, gives a company 3 years to why it was buried like, and it is. But Gensler is the absolute fool.
Yeah, so Adam continues. We've also seen folks like Rep. Baer introduce proposed legislation that would create specific guidelines for digital assets, and while not perfect, it's a big step forward. Now, we've seen what Baer has presented. We've also seen what Warren Davidson and Darren Soto have presented with the token taxonomy, which is better. Silence. So it's fallen on deaf ears in Congress. Hester Pierce has fallen on deaf ears at the SEC, but yet we went for many years without any punitive action being taken by the SEC at such a level. Right now, all of a sudden, you see that the SEC is in hyper mode, in hyperdrive, and they just paid out on, not crypto related, but they just paid out a bounty of $110 million to somebody that turned somebody else in. So now the SEC, I guess, since 2012, the SEC has paid out around 200 bounties since 2012. And now they've eclipsed $1 billion that they've paid out in these bounties, to have someone turn someone in. So what does that tell you about the SEC? What's going on? It's crazy.
It's insane, man. It already says here the SEC's current is, we won't tell you which tokens are securities, but that snarky comment he had with Elizabeth Warren, which was, yeah, a lot of them are securities. Well, which ones, Gary?
Yeah.
I mean, let us know. I mean, enlighten us, please. Apparently there's some that are, but let us know which ones they are.
Yeah, we won't tell you which securities, but every platform has lots of securities. Therefore, some must be securities.
Speaking of course, yeah.
I mean, it's unreal, because here's a guy that taught at MIT, and now
Allegedly
they're bringing allegedly. So now they're bringing the SEC, they're bringing Coinbase in, because they said, hey, this idea of you paying interest on stable coins and other assets, that's a security. So it's like, have they not even read their definition of security? Now it's just outlandish. As soon as they filed that thing against Coinbase, you knew that it was going to be outlandish. You knew that they were off the rails. They've completely, it's crazy. So Adam here, he said their solution is come talk to us. Coinbase did, and instead of conversation is getting legal action. Now Coinbase also went public, so they've spent a lot of time talking to the SEC, Chip.
an awful lot. That's crazy.
Right? Simply register. So here's another one. They just come in and register. Technologically and legally impossible for a protocol plus no burden showing it's necessary. So now Gary's overstepping his boundaries. One of the things that we're seeing happen right now in the US, again, people overseas, everyone tuning in from other parts of the world are learning something, but right now they're trying to increase the budget of the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, by like $60 billion, right? They want to give the IRS more money. I'm like, what do you need to give them more money for? And then you look at Gensler, and Gensler's petitioning Congress to have more power and control at the SEC. I'm like, these are two major power grabs, one at the IRS, one at the SEC, and both overreach. They're zealous for power. So what is that? How does that draw then in parallel to some of the political speak that's going on, where now they're talking about they want to ramp up taxes on companies and individuals in order to pay for all this other chaos that they're creating. So they're like, we need to raise the budget of the IRS by 60 billion. Oh, you know what? I know those are the people that are going to audit these people. So let's get more money from these people to give to the IRS so we can spend more time auditing these people that are sending us all their money.
Yeah, it's insane. It's really insane. Jeff, there's before we jump to that, I want to I want to throw these two tweets up real quick. Let's jump back into the
Yeah, this will go on for a long time. We've covered all this stuff, but I thought it was good. Yeah, throw up the tweet.
It's really good.
Your audio is a little
this up.
shaky, so I keep
Sorry.
Yep.
So but then maybe you can read this then.
Yeah. All right. Charles Gasparino. This is another good one. So breaking one. Oh, this is good. Legal sources tell Fox Business the next year will be crucial to cryptocurrency regulation, SEC enforcement cases against Ripple and possibly Coinbase. GOP lawmakers now asking Gensler to provide some uniform framework for his regulation and whether regulation by enforcement is appropriate. Man, that's huge. So now, you've seen some political lines being drawn here. So now it's very coalesced. And it's interesting that you'll still have some outliers like Darren Soto and a few others, but it looks like the Democrats are now coalescing their power and their initiative behind whatever it is that they want to do to crush innovation and increase the regulatory burden. But that's what Charles is pointing out here. And they want to do it by enforcement. So now you've got Republicans coming out and saying, hey, when does this end?
Well,
what's
Jeff,
your timeline, right?
Well, look at this. Jay Clayton's decision to sue Ripple may have been a staff decision, but staff will have to explain the key differences between Ripple XRP and Ethereum and why that escaped regulatory scrutiny thanks to John Deaton's lawsuit. Get the popcorn ready.
That's huge, that statement.
They're being exposed big time. And then they got this one. As I continue to report what's fascinating about the SEC enforcement on Ripple and Coinbase, the feds are giving these outlets, which have embraced regulatory dialogue, more scrutiny than they gave Bernie Madoff. Each industry needs regulations, but there is a degree of overkill.
That's a huge statement.
Huge statement. I mean, they knew for years. The SEC was tipped off for years about what Bernie Madoff was doing. They ignored it. They buried it. They had whistleblowers. 7 years they were tipped off. And while they took people's fortunes, the SEC stood by and did nothing. Meanwhile, strong arming, Ripple here. So.
Yeah, but things are good though, because as we're seeing this move forward, the one thing that we're seeing is that it's not going to happen quietly, because there are a lot of vocal people within Congress. They're growing, right? We're seeing them grow. And there's vocal people around the space like Brian Brooks that aren't going to let this nonsense that the SEC is pulling happen. Even Mark Cuban came out and is pushing Coinbase to go after the SEC. So Mark Cuban's like, the heck with what they're doing. Go all the way. So you've got Brad Garlinghouse and you've got Ripple. They're taking it all the way. They didn't sit back. So now you got Coinbase, you got Ripple, and then it's just going to keep lining up. There's going to be more and more action like this. And Brian Brooks isn't going to sit back quietly. He's not going to, do everything that he did while he was, at the OCC to now have Gary Gensler come in with the SEC and crush it all. It's innovation's innovation. This is like one last bastion of economic growth, on a global scale. But the U.S. has to have an involvement in it. There has to be some deep roots here in the U.S. And as they're burying their roots, they're trying to grow their roots down into the soil. You've got people like Gensler and others that are coming out. They're trying to hack the roots into pieces. So then they can prop the tree up and decide, and they dictate if the tree stands or falls, and that's a really bad place to be in.
Yeah. The SEC's in trouble and I love it. Jeff, when do we broadcast?
Is it that time already?
Yes, it is, sir.
Holy cow. That was quick. So Chip, today's Thursday. You realize that. So
yeah.
we do stream 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Chip, as you know, we do have some of the best and some of the brightest in the YouTube crypto space right here. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. You guys have the best commentary, best comments. You guys are awesome.
Yep. Subscribe, click that notification bell. And that's
Yeah.
we will see you on the next one. Chip Jeff out.
We are out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.